£53 million missing, 32 million still missing. What new intel does the Bad Boy documentary unearth about the Securitas robbery? I'm here today with Terry Stone, actor, producer, Tony Tucker in the Rise of the Footsoldier movies. His new documentary, Bad Boy, is out now on digital, and it's all about Jeremy Bailey, MMA fighter who was accused but never convicted. 20 years later, Terry finds out what happened.
You are never getting it back. It's lights out, good night, game over, you lost. Please insert your coin.
So you've played, like we said, real life criminal Tony Tucker across multiple films. So did that help prepare you for making this true crime documentary in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I've loved since probably I was a kid was I got into obviously those sort of true crime films, the go gangster films, Scarface, Goodfellas, Casino, The Godfather 1 and 2, Once Upon a Time in America, all those movies sort of growing up, and I think most people do have an affinity to watching these sort of crime stories because they love just sort of seeing uh, you know, how the other half lived, but obviously not in a good way. Uh, so yeah, so I think I've always enjoyed true crime. I've always enjoyed true crime films. I've always enjoyed true crime documentaries. So when this story came out, I did think at the time, oh, this would make a good film, and then I kind of forgot about it, and then just sort of a couple of years back, I just thought, actually, I wouldn't mind making a documentary about it because there was so many interesting people around. Mike Bisping. There was obviously, a lot of famous sort of MMA fighters who are now obviously UFC fighters. There's, people like Alex Reed who, was known as Roxanne and married Katie Price. He was a well-known MMA fighter, ex-parachute regiment guy. So there was this whole sort of, group of guys that were training in this sort of MMA gym in London. And then this heist happens. And, you've even got people like Dana White and Joe Rogan talking about how fucking crazy it is that these MMA fighters have done the biggest cash robbery in British history. And I think, unfortunately, for anybody that trained in that gym or that was friends with the people in that gym, they would have all somehow got either arrested or questioned or suspected of being involved. Because obviously, when something that big happens, anybody in that network around those people would have probably got pulled in, and the police would have probably looked up their asses to sort of see what they've been up to and if they had any involvement, or looking at their text messages, or seeing if they've just bought a new Ferrari, sort of things like that.
So you've got your now formerly known as the Criminal Connection podcast, now the Terry Stone Connection. Sorry, nearly got that wrong. And you've interviewed everybody from Carlton Leach to John Wedger and other actual criminals. So what stories from that podcast influenced you at all, if any, with the Bailey case?
I don't think there was any. I mean, I've known Jeremy since probably I was sort of 14 years of age. I used to go to Basingstoke. I had some really good friends in Basingstoke, and when the rave scene kicked off, there was a place called the Caribbean Club
Hmm.
in Popley, and basically, they sort of obviously thought, oh, we can make a few quid here, so they rented it out as a rave venue. So there was a load of sort of ravers in there, and that's where I met Jeremy, because Jeremy thought he was an MC and I thought I was an MC. So we met both trying to MC over this sort of rave music and just become mates. And that was how I first met him. And then obviously, if you fast forward a few years, I didn't know at the time, but he was obviously a well-skilled kickboxer. He went on to become the world kickboxing champion, undefeated. I think he had something like 69 wins, 68 knockouts, and 1 points win. So, to have a record like that is pretty impressive. Um, and when I was started doing sort of raves myself, I needed my own team. So he was one of the guys that I employed as security, and he was very handy.
thing is about the Securitas heist, which happened on February the 22nd. So for those who aren't aware, obviously don't give away too much about the documentary, but can you just give us a quick overview of what actually happened and sort of what drew you to the actual
I mean,
event?
you know, it was well organized. There was people that were, you know, kidnapped. I think the manager of the facility was kidnapped. So a lot of work went into this. It wasn't just like somebody just rocked up and said, "Give me your money." You know, there was a lot of planning, and you know, they kidnapped people. They got inside this building. They worked out, you know, the cameras. I mean, you know, they must have had a lot of inside intel to know that that money was there. You know, there's rumors that, you know, there was more money there and they didn't have a big enough van to take it all. And there's other people that said that was all that was there. So there's two sort of conflicting, but it's a bit like the Essex boys, right? You know, everyone
Mm.
says, oh, you know, he killed them, somebody did this, the police, you know, there's all these conspiracy theories. So I think the only people who know are the people that did it and the people and the law enforcement and the facility themselves. But, you know, obviously, if it was my facility, I would have probably said, you know, there was double the money instead. Back on the insurance. That was a joke, by the way. But but the
Yeah, don't no implications, don't
yeah,
worry.
but the you know, they somehow knew that money was there. They somehow got away with it. I don't think it was. It took the police a long time to actually catch them. But I mean, you know, with all these things, once you have something that big, A, it's very difficult to hide it. B, it's very difficult because people can't keep their mouths shut. People have to talk about it. And I think everybody on that UFC, MMA, mixed martial arts, anything in that sort of world, everyone would be going, fucking hell, do you hear what happened? You know, it was the boys from that club. And then the boys from that club could have meant the whole club. It could have meant a few of them. It could have meant two of them. But I think, you know, everybody was talking about it. And I think, you know, that was, I mean, it was massive news. I think every newspaper, front page, you know, and apparently the British government changed the notes so that they become invalid. So if anybody, so if they had buried them or hidden them somewhere, they wouldn't obviously be able to use them because they were out of circulation. So yeah, that was a smart move on their part. And maybe, but again, you know, I mean, it's such a crazy amount of money. I mean, you know, you'd have to be a criminal mastermind or no one to be able to. So I'm going to steal this money. You help me get rid of it, please. Do you know what I mean? It's not that you can go and spend it in the corner shop on sweets and cigarettes and bottles of cider. So
Yeah,
um
that'd be quite a lot as well, I think, for
yeah,
that amount of money.
yeah.
So, so you brought your documentary, sorry, focuses on Jeremy. So was there anything you learned during the documentary that you didn't previously know? Because you said before that you knew Jeremy quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Jeremy's always been a funny guy. He's always been entertaining. He's always had a lack of respect for authority, and I don't think he's ever been particularly fans of the police. So I think he's spent his life, you know, on the wrong side of the law. He's obviously, you know, turned his life around, but you know, he has been in and out of jail for violent offences, and yeah, he was well known as a debt collector and as a doorman and as bodyguard. He looked after a lot of famous people. Um, but you know, it was a real shame that he got sort of pulled in on this. But you know, out of all the people that were charged and all the people that you know went to court, he was the only one who got not guilty. So you know, that was pretty remarkable. But again, you know, I think he's had police surveillance. He's had, you know, people, you know, it has it just because he got not guilty didn't mean that the police left him alone and sort of patted him on the back and said, "Oh well, we know you're a good boy." Because I think it's that thing once you've been in trouble with the police or you've got a criminal record or you've been to jail, it doesn't matter if you join you know, Christianity and become a vicar, you're still going to be tarred with that brush, and they still go, "Is he really a vicar, or is he still at it? Is he still a criminal? Is he still doing things he shouldn't be doing?" So I think he's never going to be able to shake that off. But what fascinated me was, you know, to talk about the story, to talk about Jeremy because he is a great character. You know, he's been in a few movies. That promotes his own mixed martial arts shows. As I said, he was a rave MC back in the day. He was a world kickboxing champion. He's just a great character. So I think for us, when we were looking at this thing, we thought, well, the Securitas robbery is obviously the big thing, but really Jeremy deserves, to have his life discussed, and his crazy sort of things that he's done, sort of brought to life, really. Because I mean, if people know him or live in Basingstoke, or have watched, Hell to Pay, or been to any of the fights, they know who he is. But for the man walking down the street that doesn't necessarily follow mixed martial arts or follow him on the social media, they probably wouldn't know anything about Jeremy. So I think part of it was obviously to celebrate, you know, his achievements in his life, and then the other part was to sort of say, he has been a criminal, and he's turned his life around. And the Securitas thing just happened. If he hadn't been arrested for it, we wouldn't have mentioned it. But in a weird sort of way, that was one of the reasons why we thought, it'd be good to hear his thoughts, and what he was saying. I mean, he sort of laughs and jokes through the documentary, but I think, I mean, they recovered. They said they've recovered. I think you said earlier, was it 32 million?
Yeah. There's 32 million still missing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So they've
yeah,
recovered 31, and there's 32 still missing. So, or 20. No, sorry, it's
it's about
32.
20. Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
18
So
million. Yeah.
yeah. So that's still a lot of money to have gone missing.
Mm,
So but it's probably like the Essex Boys. It's probably like everything else. One day we'll find out the truth, but
yeah.
we
Maybe.
might not.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So when you were, I mean, when you approached him about doing this, does he still have, does it still resonate with him, or is it kind of, oh yeah, we're going back to that? Yeah, that's fine, that's cool.
I
Or is
think, I
it?
think, I think, he wanted to put the record straight, and he wanted to speak out about, he feels obviously that he's been targeted, and, he's been harassed
Mm,
because of people he knew and things that he's done in the past. But unfortunately, I think, although I sympathise with what he's saying and what his thoughts are, I do think if you do choose to be a criminal, and you do criminal activities, and you do get arrested and go to jail, then you can't expect the police not to, drive you mad.
yeah.
Um, he is, I definitely would say over the last 5 years, I've seen a massive change in Jeremy. He's nothing like he used to be. So yeah, I definitely think, he's turned his life around, and he's definitely, going down the right path now. But again, it doesn't matter what I think.
So, are you still interested in making a sort of bigger movie from this now you've done
For
the
sure. I mean,
documentary?
look, I like Lee Murray. I think he was a fucking ferocious fighter. For anybody that doesn't know much about him, I mean, he had a fight with a load of guys outside a nightclub in Mayfair called the Funky Buddha, and I think there was seven of them, and they all stabbed him, and he bashed them all up, and lived to tell the tale. So, he was just one of those guys that, he was a ferocious fighter, and he was somebody that you just wouldn't want to fuck around with. So I think, when he comes out of jail, whenever that is, I'm sure he's been inundated with offers to do the movie. I think the only problem will be, when he comes out, whether his parole conditions will allow him to do it, and also the proceeds of crime thing. Obviously, if that money's still not been repaid, and they still think that he's hidden it or he's got access to it, they might say, well, you can't go and make a film because you're going to get paid for that film, and then that money's going to come back to us. So, and then obviously, what's the point of him making the film if he's going to make the film and give the money to the government? So, I don't know whether the film would ever get made. I
Mm,
think somebody could make the film, and it could be done uh, as it's based on a true story. But I think, if you're going to make this film, I think you want to make the actual truth. And I think, if we actually had the all the information on how they did it, and what actually happened and how they got caught, and all the myths are dispelled, and you could actually tell the truth. I think that would be a movie that everyone would want to watch.
Absolutely. So finally, what is next for you, Terry? I know you're a busy man, so what have
Yeah,
you got
well,
lined up?
you kindly mentioned the podcast, so that's going from strength to strength. It's called the Terry Stone Connection now, and we've got some amazing guests coming on there. We've really built it up to something special, and we're just in production on a new movie as well. So that starts filming on Monday, and that's going to take me up to Christmas. It's called Towers from the Trap. It's a UK rap film, a little bit like Top Boy,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's a film that I've been working on for a couple of years. But with all these things, when you develop a movie or develop a project, you always want it to happen quickly, and it always happens when it happens.
Yeah. So when will you expect that to be done and ready, or is there no date yet?
It'd definitely be finished this year, but it won't be out probably till, I would say, May, June at the earliest. Probably more likely September. But again, once we do a deal with one of the studios or one of the streamers, uh, it will all become apparent. But I'm sure, Matty, we'll be talking again.
I hope so. Absolutely hope so. So, in closing, what do you want people to take away from Bad Boy?
I just think people are going to watch it. They're going to be entertained. They're going to laugh. They're going to find out things about the case and about Jeremy and about what happened that they probably don't know. And I think that's pretty much it. But with all movies, I always think it's good for people to make their own minds up so they can watch it and say, was Jeremy innocent? Was Jeremy guilty? Are the right guys in jail for it? What did they all? Is the sentences they received excessive? So I think when you make any, whether it's a documentary or a film, I think it always gives people, especially audience members, they have their own views and opinions and perspectives, and I'm sure they'll be posting it online. So now I'm looking forward to hearing what people think about the movie first, and then secondly, obviously I'm looking forward to just hearing what the public think about it.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, Terry. And like I said, I hope we catch up again soon on your next project. And everybody, Bad Boy, the documentary is available now on digital. So make sure you go watch it.
Thanks very much, Matt. Thanks for your
No
time.
worries. Thanks. Bye.